Imagine a cozy cafe. Everything's dark oak wood and inviting. It smells of freshly baked cinnamon rolls and freshly brewed coffee. There are books on display and a cat sleeping soundly on the counter. The place is filled with peace and calm, and there are people enjoying their drinks while reading or writing. There are no computers or phones to be seen. It's as if time has stopped and there is nowhere to rush. In another room, there's a group of people engaged in a quiet conversation, making new connections and learning new things. It's a friendly atmosphere of a tight-knit community that welcomes anyone new. The entire space is filled with magic. Magic that comes from books, chocolate, and mysteriously good bakes. But also from friendship, good conversation, and the cats who always keep you company and deliver exactly what you need. Welcome back to the Cat Coach Cafe. My name is Moni Force, and me, together with the cat coaches, Aragorn, Apricot, and Prince, are delighted you found your way here again. To a place where we slow down, tune to the season, take good care of ourselves, and share our love for all things cats, books, and well-being, or what I call catful living. And because a cafe is all about meeting new people as well, or cats if it's a cat cafe, today, as always, we will welcome a very special guest here. Helen Vincent will come and share the story of her adventure cat, Bao Zi, which will inspire you to take, if not your cat, then at least yourself on a whole new adventure too. After all, we are at the beginning of February, and that means it is time to let our true selves shine. But more on that later. Let us start, as always, with your hot drink in your hands and by easing ourselves into the moment through the beautiful scents and tastes of your drink of choice. Are you ready? If not, pause the podcast and come back when you are. Wrap the palms of your hands around your mug. Let the warm feeling fill your body. Doesn't it feel just so comforting? That warmth coming from the mug, filling your palms. Close your eyes for a moment and let the force travel all the way through your body. Then take a delicious deep breath. And then exhale with a sigh. Open your eyes and look at your drink. Notice the color. What is the color of it? Then take the mug closer to you and deeply inhale its scent. Do it one more time with your eyes closed. Now, what does it smell like? Can you recognize the ingredients or perhaps get a more of an emotional response to the smell? Does it smell like chamomile, perhaps, or coffee, or rather like joy? Does it bring back some memories? Or perhaps it makes you feel stronger, more inspired, more alive. And maybe it just brings you to the exotic lands where the ingredients grew. And perhaps it's a combination of all of these. Just take it all in and let your imagination flow. When you're ready, take your first sip. Slowly, fully taking in its flavor. Does the taste surprise you? Or does it taste just how you expected? Take another sip and once again, notice how it makes you feel. What emotions it brings, what memories or ideas. If you have a notebook and pen by your side, feel free to pause the podcast and make some notes if you feel inspired. Otherwise, whenever you're ready, continue sipping your drink at your own pace while you listen to today's episode. We are at the start of something new. With February upon us, the ground starts to shift. Seeds awaken. There might not be much to be seen on the outside yet, but the movement has begun. The work has begun. After the winter rest and January streaming, it is now time to plant those seeds of our year ahead. You are not yet to come out of hibernation fully, so if you feel anything like me, who still needs some portion of her winter sleep, do not worry, there is still time to rest. But I think if you tune in, you too will be able to feel that something within is changing. Something is shifting, slowly awakening. The dreams of January begin to take shape. Your goals for the year ahead are becoming clearer. It is not yet time to take action as such, but it is time to plant those seeds so they can grow. So, as we celebrate Candlemass this weekend, or Hromnice in Czech, also known under the Celtic name Imbolc, more on that in the second part of the episode, it is time to do some cleaning up and some purification, some planting or goal setting, if you will. February is a time of purification, restoration, and new beginnings, the awakening of all things new. It is a time to declutter our homes and perhaps our minds too, to prepare for the new season of growth. What have you learned this past season about yourself or the season as such? What would you like to leave behind in winter? And what would you like to see grow in spring? These could be perhaps habits that no longer serve you that you want to leave behind, or any limiting beliefs about yourself, which may be in the way of connecting to your most authentic way of life, or in the way of the growth you want to see. February's energies are all about reawakening your true purpose and your true self. So use this season to discover more about you. What lights you up? What dreams are you ready to dust off and finally make reality? February brings clarity, new ideas, a hunger for a new kind of freedom. Freedom of living your authentic life. So, how can you be your most authentic self as you prepare to step out of your hibernation? What makes you you? I will put all these questions for you in the show notes so you can just use them as journaling prompts whenever you're ready. Or feel free to rewind the podcast and one by one journal on these prompts, pausing the podcast as you need. coming out of hibernation is also all about leaving our comfort zones. And with that in mind, I have a very special story to share with you today. One which perfectly fits the description of all of the February energies. Helen Vincent is here today to talk about her cat Bao Zi, once an extremely anxious cat who now travels the world with her and her wife and has gained a massive following on Instagram under the name Best Adventure Cat.
We adopted Bao Zi 8 years ago, and she was just a maybe 8 month old, almost kitten at the time. And we adopted her because I was going through a bit of a depression. And so I told my wife I really wanted a cat to cheer me up. And she had always thought that she hated cats. She was not a cat person at all, but she's a very good wife. So she agreed to adopt a cat. I went to the shelter and I picked out Bao Zi, and she was at the time a very weird looking cat because she is half Maine Coon, but she had kittens very early. She was pregnant with her kittens at like 5 or 6 months, basically as early as you can be. And so they kind of took all the nutrients out of her as they were growing before she had time to become a full cat. And so she was very long, but with tiny little short legs, huge eyes, and like very short fur. It was a very weird looking cat. And so I wanted to adopt her because she was so sweet, like really nice personality. And also I thought nobody else is going to adopt this weird looking cat. And so
Aww.
I brought her home, and we had no idea that she was half Maine Coon. And all of a sudden, a few months later, she just poofed out, all of her fur grew out, and she looked like a real Maine Coon, but so tiny, like a little mini Maine Coon. And so she's actually extremely beautiful now. You would never know it when you saw her original photos and videos. And the first 4 years that we had her, we used to call her Basement Bao Zi because she was always hiding in the basement because she was extremely anxious and afraid of everything. And we loved her very much, but she just was not a very happy cat. She was happy with
Mm.
us, but she was generally anxious and had a lot of health problems from the anxiety, like over grooming and kidney problems and teeth problems.
Oh.
And then in COVID, we decided to start doing some road trips. So we both work remotely and we had the opportunity to travel while working full time. And we decided to take Bao Zi with us. And so we had no idea how it would go, but we figured we would just give it a try. And we travel in our big SUV, a 4Runner. In the first, and until that time, she had been very nervous in the car. She would throw up, have diarrhea, just like very, very stressed. And
Mm.
so we were quite worried about that part, but we were driving cross country from Boston all the way to Los Angeles. It was about a 10-day drive. And the vet had told us give her some gabapentin and then kind of a little bit less every day. And so we started with a little bit the first day. So she was pretty zonked out, but not stressed. And then a little bit less the next day, a little bit next the next day. And by 4 days in, she was completely calm. She didn't need the drugs anymore. She just had suddenly completely relaxed in the car and was super happy.
Mm.
So that was when we realized that exposure really worked for her. Just being calm, exposure with us got her completely over the fear. And I think we've done a lot of research since and realized why cats get stressed in cars, and a lot of it has to do with lack of control, motion sickness, stress, fear associating it with going into the vet. But she was now associating with kind of home because this was now the base where her two humans were, where she was, where her stuff was. And so she really got over that fear of the car, and she realized she wasn't going to the vet or any place scary. So that's how she got over the fear of the car. And then the way that she turned into an adventure cat is that every day, we didn't have a litter box in the car. So we put a harness on her and we would bring her to some sand and dirt and hope she would go to the bathroom. And we figured eventually she'd figure it out because she's a smart cat. And she did figure it out the first day. And the funny thing is, when we had tried putting a harness and a leash on her back in Boston, she was really afraid of it. So she would just lay flat like a pancake and
Mm.
just not move.
That's
But
what happened when I
this
tried it with my cat. Yeah.
That's in we've learned since it's a normal reaction because they feel kind of restricted. And so their flight
Mm.
or flight comes into motion. So that's why they just freeze. And so, but in nature, she was relaxed about it and was able to go to the bathroom. And every day we were camping. So we'd put her out in the harness and the leash a couple of times a day. And the first day she just stayed right by the car. And the second day she did a little spin around the car. And the third day, a little bit bigger circle around the car. And by the time we got to Mississippi, maybe day 5 or 6, one day for some reason she just started taking off in a straight line and went on a hike and took us on an almost 2 mile walk that first day, just exploring the campground. And that was when I realized she might actually like to hike or go on walks. And so then every day when we would put on the harness and leash, if she wanted to walk, she would walk. If she didn't, she wouldn't. And over time, she became this hiking, walking adventure cat that she is today. But it all started with those first walks on our first road trip with her a long time ago.
Wow, it's amazing. And so when you put the harness on once you were on the road trip,
Hmm. Hmm.
she didn't mind at all anymore. She,
No, she was. So when we first put the harness on her after the road trip, or during the road trip, I would say she was a little stiff at first and a little kind of
mm,
awkward, but she didn't pancake, and I think it's because we were in nature. Um,
mm,
but but somehow she just felt that it was different. And one thing I realized about cats, I think they can tell when you're doing something to take care of them versus doing something just for the sake of it. And I think somehow she could tell her energy when we put the harness on for her to go to the bathroom was different than the energy when we put the harness on for her to go on a walk in Boston downtown.
mm,
And so she was really trusting of us at that moment. And that got us over that initial fear. But that's part of it. And then the other part of it is we finally realized with time the right kind of harness to wear on a cat, which is not the kind of harness that most people try. Like if you Google cat harness on Amazon, you get the jacket kind,
hmm
and cats find that really so A, it's a problem because cats find it constricting and they panic. But the other reason that it's bad is that cats can actually scoot backwards out of those extremely easily. They're made for dogs that go forward when they want to escape, and we all know cats go backwards. So the better kind of harness is a called like an H harness, but it's thin straps that go behind the limbs that make it almost impossible for the cat to escape, but also make the cat feel a lot more secure because it's less constricting.
What's the longest she walked? Do you know?
The longest she has walked in a single hike, maybe like almost 3 miles one time. I think her
Wow.
average is more like a mile and a half, 2 miles max. Yeah. And we go hiking every day. We usually hike 3 to 4 miles every day. We still live remotely. And she's always in the backpack with us. And when she wants to hike, she'll meow and put her paws up on the top, and we know, and we put her on the ground, and then she'll hike as long as she wants. And then when she's done, she just sits down and looks at us, and we just know, like, oh, walk. So we put her in. So, but usually it's not one straight shot. It's like a lot of little segments, like down, up, down, up, down, up, um, and she's the boss of how much she wants to walk.
So she takes breaks basically, so she
Oh yeah.
can, yeah.
Yeah. She usually does. There's some days, but it's the funny thing, like about once a month, she'll just marathon it. She just decides she wants to walk. And like, during those times she'll sit down if she wants a rest in the middle of the so-called marathon. But like whenever she sits, we always offer her the backpack and she can choose if she wants to hop in.
Mm.
But on those days, she just looks at the backpack and she's like, nah, I'm good. And just
Okay,
picks up and
let's
keeps
go.
walking. So yeah, it's so
No
funny. Like
time
she's
to
totally the
waste.
boss. Yeah, it's the funniest thing. Like she really knows she's the boss, and if she wants in the backpack, she wants in the backpack, and if she doesn't, she doesn't. And I think it's so funny. Like people will say, "No, you're forcing your cat to be an adventure cat." I'm like, have you ever tried to force your cat to do something they didn't want to do? It's impossible. Cats do what they want, and we're just lucky if we happen to be involved.
Yeah, exactly. You said that she was very anxious cat before,
Hmm.
well, basically when you got her. Do you know
Hmm.
anything about her backstory before she got to you?
We just know she was a rescue cat, and she was rescued from, I guess, a family that there's some problems. They were hoarders or something, and so the kids at some
Uh,
point showed up and realized that there was a big problem at the house, and so they rescued the cat from that situation. But when she got brought in, she was like pregnant, covered in
mm,
fleas, sickly. So we don't know what happened to her, but I think it can't have been very, very good. But the interesting thing is, ever since she started the adventure cat life, like she's obviously her attitude is no longer anxious, but even physically, she's so healthy. All her health problems went away, which
that's
is so funny.
amazing.
Like she stopped over grooming, her teeth stopped getting all infected or whatever, her kidney no longer has a problem. So, and the vets, we always bring her in. Obviously, we bring her to the vet a lot. If you travel internationally, you need vet certificates for that. So, whenever we show up, they were always amazed at like her muscle mass and her tone and,
Mm,
and how healthy she is. So that, I mean, exercise, I guess, is good for humans, but also animals. It's just like, even the days where she's not hiking, if we're just carrying her a lot, like if she's not in the mood
mm.
to hike, she's still getting mental stimulation, which I think is a huge thing that cats don't necessarily get if they're just indoors and not doing too much.
Yeah, I think that's just a beautiful reminder again that we tend to forget that we are really the same. So the
Mm,
same things we need to be healthy,
hmm.
animals need as well. It's just something that we tend to forget. And then when you
Yeah.
realize it, it's just like, But yeah, of course, it makes perfect
Hmm.
sense, right? It's like people who are happy and taking care of their health and everything,
Hmm.
they're just healthy, completely. And it's the same with the cat. So
Yep.
she's out having adventures. She's happy, obviously. So
Yep.
there's no reason for anything going bad, basically, anything being wrong. It's just really
Yeah.
beautiful. That's
I think
transformation for
it's
her.
No, it's amazing. And I think part of it too, speaking of things that we know humans need, but we forget about animals and cats specifically, is that human interaction. I think people think cats are loners, but they're really not. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a cat. She sleeps 16 hours a day, 20 hours a day, but she sleeps by us, right? And like she
Yeah.
wants to be with us. And you can really tell like her whole, we spend maybe, so we travel permanently. We're nomads and I spend a couple months out of the year living with whether it's friends or family or whoever we're visiting. And she's happy then too. But when she's really the happiest is when it's just the three of us. We call it the three girls on the road, me, my wife, and her. And it's just like she really feels like she's part of the crew. Somehow I don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it, but it's like she's so happy. She feels like she belongs. And you can just tell her whole demeanor. Like she's so social, she's so friendly,
Oh,
she's like very talkative. Um, she really enjoys having that one-on-one time, that interaction, and that being part of that little crew of girls somehow really seems to do good things for her.
oh, that's amazing. And she's talkative. She talks. I
Yeah,
love chatty cats.
it's so
One
cute.
of
And
my
that only
cats is
started like
chatty.
the last couple of years. She was always so silent. And now like we'll be in one part of the apartment and then all of a sudden we hear go, and so we walk over to see if she needs anything. She's just talking to us. She just wants to say hey. I think it's so cute.
Oh, it's amazing. One of my cats, Prince, he does this
Mm.
like when he wakes up, he would tell us, he would announce it. Hey
Oh,
guys, I'm
really?
awake. You must have missed me,
Oh,
so I'm just telling you.
it's so cute.
And
Oh, I
sometimes
love
when
that.
he's sleeping in the other room and there's like
Hmm.
no one coming by for way too long, he would start
Yeah.
meowing, just, calling us like, I'd
Yeah.
like some cuddles, please.
Please come give me attention while I nap. Yeah, absolutely.
I
Oh,
always
I
find
love
it so
that.
funny. Like he doesn't go to us, he calls us, talk
Oh,
to him.
100%. That's what I love about cats. You have to work for it. You know when you deserved it when they call you.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
can't
Yeah.
take it for granted.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You recently started a free adventure cat training. You have a whole
Hmm.
website where you
Hmm.
share tips on how to train cats so people could
Hmm.
go adventuring with their cats as well.
Hmm.
Can you tell us what they can find there?
Absolutely. So we started our cat's social media account 4 years ago when she was adventuring. And at the time, we just started it for friends and family because we just thought it was hilarious that our cat was hiking. And then we founded a whole community of people that were trying to train their cats to be adventure cats. And at the time, we thought it was a lot, but it was maybe a couple dozen, but it still felt like a lot to us. And now it's like hundreds or thousands of people trying to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's a whole change, I think, in how people look at cats. But what we realized, we were getting just tons of the same questions over and over of like how to get started. And one thing that really inspires us is how much healthier Bao Zi has gotten, as we mentioned. And so for us, it's a really cool thing that so many people are trying to get their cats to be adventure cats because we think it's just so much better for the cats. And so we wanted to help other people be able to do that with their cats, give them the confidence to do it, and also take away some of the learning challenges. Like we went through growing pains, right? Unfortunately for Bowser, she and we learned together it's good to be an adventure cat. Like we had the wrong harness for months.
Mm.
We didn't realize like how to read some of her body language at the beginning, and it took us a while to develop some of those habits. And so we didn't want other people and their cats to have to go through that experience and take as long to learn as we did. And so that's why we put together all of the tips and tricks and things that we found out about how to train your adventure cat. So it goes through everything you could possibly imagine of the kinds of questions we've gotten from, how do you first get started if you've got a very anxious indoor city cat? Like, what's the first step? Where do you even start?
Mm.
Right? What's the right harness to get? And then how do you get your cat to be able to transition to having adventures in a way that does not cause the cat undue stress, right? Like in any change, there's going to be a little bit of stress as your world expands, but you want it to be minimal the same way you yourself, as you try something new, would want minimal stress, right?
Yeah.
Like a little bit of like apprehension, maybe, but not stress is what you want. And so we have guides on how do you get your cat to get used to being in a backpack? How do you get them used to being in a harness? If you're going to take them walking, what are the right environments to start doing it? And then questions around safety. What do you do about dogs? How do you keep your cat safe in unexpected situations, loud noises? health concerns. What are the vaccinations that you need? What's the paperwork that you need? And then even more advanced, but kind of unique questions like how do you teach your cat to go to the bathroom outside? There's certain things that people just want to know. And so we address all of those things. And we decided to make it free just because we just saw how healthy our cat was afterwards, and we wanted all cats to have that opportunity. We didn't want to gatekeep that information. So we made the investment of time to put it up there and just hope it can help as many people as possible.
That's amazing. I actually looked through it as well, and there's like
Oh, nice.
so much information. It's really like more than I would even think of. So it's a
It's
really
four
great
years worth of
resource.
hard lessons learned
Yeah, I can
put up
imagine.
there.
Yeah, it must have took so much time to put together as well.
Yeah, no,
Would you
it was
say
fun.
from your experience that any cat could be turned into an adventure cat?
I think any cat has a potential, but I think it's like humans. We all have different personalities, right? Like there's some
Mm,
people that are never going to want to be outdoorsy, and so
mm,
that's okay.
yeah.
Um, I would say any cat's world can be expanded. So if you had like a very, very anxious cat or very old cat who can't go outside, or you live in a city, then maybe just setting them up at a window box by the window so they have some entertainment is one thing. But then from my experience, I would say probably 80% of cats can be some kind of adventure cat. It's not breed specific, it's not type
Mm,
specific. And I think Bao Zi is a really good example of the fact that you could be a really anxious, like you never would have thought Bowser would be an adventure cat. She was the furthest thing. I've had other cats that I would have been like, oh yeah, that would have made sense. They were outgoing and brave, but she was antisocial, introverted, and anxious.
mm,
Um, and so I think it just that the key thing is patience, and doing it in many little steps. Like don't try to immediately throw your cat in a backpack on a harness and bring them to
mm,
Central Park. It's just gonna traumatize your cat and you, right? So start small, have I think the first good step is having them in the backpack because then they're in control. They're in a nice backpack. They're in your space. So start by having the backpack in the living room around the cat. Put some treats in the backpack. Get them going in the backpack. Maybe put their food bowl in the backpack over time, and then maybe put them in the backpack and walk around the house a couple different days. Then maybe walk to your car and back a couple different days. And then maybe if you have got a quiet garden, walk them around that way. So the idea is small exposure, like 15 minutes at a time, many days in a row, is
mm.
better than one big exposure. So it does take some time and patience. But I think that patience is the first key to not rush it, even though it's exciting and you want to, but just it's better for you and the cat is patience. And then the other one is that we joke it's not so much about training the adventure cat, but more the adventure cat training you. And so the key is you are learning to read your cat's body language and what they like and what they don't like, and you're learning to work together. So um, it took us a while to learn how to read when Bao Zi was anxious. So we thought at first it was like if she was shaking, she was anxious, or obviously you know, like ears flat, the stuff that you think about. But we learned only several years in that she licks her lips when she's anxious, which I didn't know was a self-soothing thing for cats. And so little things like that
Mm.
that we have on the website to help people that we realize, okay, this is how we know if we're pushing it too far versus, okay, here's when she's happy. Um, and you develop a language together. Like when I said she sits down and gives us a certain look when she wants to be picked up, we learned that with time. And she, I think, learned to teach us with time that that was what she wanted. Or um, another important thing is teaching your cat that you are the safe space. So
Mm.
things are going to happen when you're out adventuring. If your cat's on a leash, like a dog could run up, there's a loud noise from a bus nearby, whatever it is. You want your cat to turn to you for safety and not run away. Like their inclination usually is to run away. And so with time and exposure, you'll figure out a way for you to tell when your cat's getting anxious and practice having them stay by you when something happens. So if I can see there's a bus coming down the road, as an example, right? I'll squat down by Bowza and I'm petting her and I'm holding her harness very closely with my hand, not the leash, but her actual harness with my hand. And I'm petting her and I'm holding her and I'm reassuring her. And so with time, she learns when something scary happens to stay by me and I'll keep her safe. And so we posted a video on our Instagram the other day of our cat. You could tell she's anxious. She's on a sand dune in the desert. There's a big wind that starts. She gets nervous and she looks around and then she just turns. She was sitting on my lap. She turns towards me. Her body goes to my shoulder. She puts her top two front paws on my shoulder and like holds me tight and I hold her back. And it was a really beautiful way to show that she knows safety is here with me and not running away. And that just takes time to develop that kind of trust between the cat and the human. And that is what keeps the cat safe. And I think that is that is the beautiful part of adventure cat training is it really brings your bond with the animal a lot closer than you would
Mm,
think. One thing that we learned about cats is that they really need a home territory that's theirs. Like they
mm,
control their domain of just cat behavior. And so if you can get that backpack associated with like belonging to them, then I think
mm.
that might help with part of the stress. And then they may never want to go on a walk, but you could, because they're older, I don't know what their health is, but you could always just bring them with you to like a park or to a pretty place. Some cats
Mm.
are just perfectly happy being in a backpack or a stroller, and that's enough for them. They don't want to walk, but they enjoy the mental stimulation of being outside.
How many countries have you traveled to so far with your cat?
She has been to 13 countries.
That's
Uh,
wow. It's probably
yeah,
more than
so
me.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a bit absurd to be honest. But she's our family now and so yeah, she just comes with us and we're lucky we're nomads and my wife's family is in Asia and mine is all over Europe and we visit them a lot and so we bring her with us and I think home, I think Bao Zi now just finds the two of us as home. And so
Mm.
wherever we are, that feels like home to her, regardless of where the place is. And so
Oh, that's
she's
just so beautiful. I love that.
yeah, I mean, I never would have thought that a cat could do that, right? It feels like a dog
Yeah.
kind of a thing, but she has learned that we are home. So as long as we are there, she is comfortable and confident. And so yeah, so she's done planes, trains, automobiles, boats, every kind of transportation you could think of.
Wow.
Uh, you know,
Boats.
one of our
Wow.
funny,
Wasn't she
yeah.
scared of water?
Oh, she goes swimming. She's a very
Wow.
courageous cat.
Okay.
Um,
She's a true
her,
adventure cat indeed.
yeah, she is. You know, what's funny though? Like I was thinking, you were saying we were talking about different kinds of people. There's different kinds of adventure cats. Like we know
Mm,
some adventure cats that never go beyond their neighborhood, but they're super social and they want to meet
mm,
everybody on their walk. Usually, I think male cats are more like that.
mm,
Bauza is incredibly physically adventurous, but she is still very afraid of meeting new people for the
mm,
most part. So, she will meet them if she's in our arms,
mm.
but typically, like she's not the kind of adventure cat that's trying to meet new friends. She's happier just with the two of us, but out in nature, and she prefers nature over the city. But yeah, as long as we're there, she's feeling good.
So if you want to go on a long hikes, it's probably better to get a female cat, you're saying.
Yeah, I guess it's a good question. Well, because they're also lighter, so unless your cat is extraordinarily
That's
athletic,
true.
like Bauta is only I think like 2.5 kilos, right? Like 8-ish pounds, and that makes a difference because we do. I mean, we have done several 10-mile hikes with her up and down mountains, and that's a long way to carry a cat if they're heavy. So I think either maybe if we had a husband who was really big, we could have a bigger cat. But for two ladies who are average size, 8 pounds is the perfect amount of cat to carry with us.
That's so funny though, because it reminds me like I have a 2-year-old niece,
Hmm.
and we always joke when we see like boys in her age how much like girls are different, how they're adventurous and they're so much into the world and want to learn. It's just so different, girls and boys, when they're little.
It's
The Bowser is like the same, like the little girl, basically. Like
exactly.
it's awesome.
Yeah, she's so girly. It's funny. Like she really is all girl. I don't even know how to describe
Yeah.
it, but she's just like very sweet, a little more shy. You know, I don't know. She's very, very sweet. So most actually not most, I would say maybe 2/3 of the adventure cats that we know are men, boy cats. So there's definitely more boy cats that are adventure cats, but I think
Mm,
girl adventure cats can be super sweet. And I don't have any data on this, but my observation is that in some ways they're easier to train because they stick close to home more, home being
mm,
the people. And so Bauza has like very good recall as an example. So what I'm about to describe is an advanced move, so I don't recommend people try it until very late in their adventure cat journey, but she does go off leash hiking with us in different places.
mm,
And so she does have a safety collar on, so we have a GPS tracker on her. But the reason we're able to do that is that she has very good voice recall. So if we are hiking, one of us will go in the front, one will go in the back. She always hikes in the middle. And it's always on very specific, like we know there's no predators in the area, there's good overhead
mm.
coverage, there's not like birds of prey or whatever, narrow defined trail. But she stays very close to us and just has incredible recall. So if she starts wandering off the path and we call her, she always comes right back. And my observation is that there may be more female cats that are easy to train like that versus male cats. Because male cats, I think, are more confident, more likely to stray, and female cats are maybe a little more timid in my experience, and so they're more likely to stay close, which that will keep them safer. So maybe in that way, it's better.
Bao Zi, what name is that? To me, it sounds like some warrior princess, Like, what does it mean?
I never heard that word before. So it means steamed bun in Chinese. So my wife
Okay.
is Chinese, and so it's like kind of like think of like a big dumpling, like a big steamed dumpling. So something very delicious
Okay.
and sweet is her name, and you'll notice I call her both Baoza and Baozi. So it's actually Baoza, the
Bao
proper
Zi.
pronunciation. For some reason, so my mom struggles to pronounce that word, and she started calling her Bao Zi, and we just thought that was cute too. So now her nickname is almost the same as her real name, but her nickname is Bao Zi. So we call her both. But anyhow, her actual name is Bao Zi.
Bao Zi. Okay. And was that based on like the way she looked, or how did you come up with that?
That's really a good question. Gosh, I think we wanted a unique name, and we want for some reason we were like thinking of food names. We love foods.
Food. I can
I
relate.
could not. Yeah, exactly. I could not tell you. It felt like the right name. I wish I had a better story for it, but it just felt like the right name. And we had actually when we adopted her and her kitten at the time. Her kitten well, it's kind of this part of Baoza's origin story. So we had her and her kitten for 4 years, Baoza and Jiaoza. So it was Big
Hmm.
Dumpling and Little Dumpling.
Oh.
Um, they were very, very cute. Jiaoza, the little one, was very adventurous and brave. We weren't adventure catting at the time, but she was the more social
Hmm.
cat. And then during COVID, before we started adventuring, we went to live with my parents in the countryside for a while. And then my wife and I did our first road trip together, but we left the cats at home thinking the cats would be happier with my parents. And during that time, Jiaozi ran away or disappeared. And
Oh.
so it has a good ending, but so we were really heartbroken. And so that's actually why we took Baozi with us, is we thought we already lost one cat. We can't bear to lose the other one. So that's actually
Mm.
why we started adventuring with Baozi and taking her with us. But the good ending is that about a year and a half after Jiaozi disappeared, I saw someone posted on our local town Facebook group that they had found the stray cat and been feeding her for a year and a half, and were only now deciding to tell people about it and ask if it was anybody's cat. I was like, "Oh my God, that's my cat!" So Jiaozi had walked 5 miles down the road and gotten lost, I guess, and was just being taken care of by this other family who had not seen all our lost cat posters or whatever. So we took Jiaozi home, but at that point, it became clear that Jiaozi and Baozi both had very big personalities, and I
Mm.
didn't see how we could travel with both of them. So we found another local family who was super sweet and loving, and they adopted Jiaozi. And they're just incredible. They send us like monthly photos and videos of her, and Jiaozi is also living her best life, but with a different family. So
Is she also
she's alive and
adventuring?
well. A little bit, but I think only around the neighborhood. It's there.
Mm.
I think not as much as Baozi. So
Mm.
I think maybe that family is less interested in adventuring with their cat, but Jiaozi with her new family still looks very happy. So whatever her lifestyle is, they're doing it right. She looks happy and healthy too.
Good. That's very good. I like happy
Yeah.
endings.
Yeah, it was an unexpected happy ending. It was heartbreaking for about a year and a half.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the silver lining is it did motivate us to get Bowsy to travel with us and be an adventure cat. And then the happy ending is we did find out that she was healthy. She actually got tremendously fat when she was homeless. She somehow got many, I think, neighbors to feed her. So she was not traumatized by her time being homeless, but we did rehome her so she could be in a house that was able to take her physically in their house in the winter because it's cold where my parents live.
Going back to the traveling the world, what are some of the most cat-friendly countries or cities?
So in terms of the place that we've traveled with Bowza that are most and least cat friendly. I would say, ironically, where she lives, the United States is in some ways the least cat friendly. There's a
Mm.
lot of rules are developed just to keep people safe. So she's not allowed in any restaurants or stores or museums or anything like that. But in Europe and in Asia, we have found countries that are super cat friendly. So in Europe, I would say Italy is the most cat
Mm.
friendly. She is welcome literally everywhere. People love cats. People want to play with her, say hi to her. So we've loved Italy for that reason. And then the other place that's super cat friendly is Central Asia. So all the stands, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan. Um, we went there this last winter for about 6 weeks. And we
Mm,
had no idea that they were so cat friendly. And what we learned is that the reason they're so cat friendly is they are primarily Islamic countries. And the Prophet Muhammad loved cats. So much so that there's a story about a time when a cat sat on a part of his cloak and took a nap, and he wanted to get up and move, but he didn't want to disturb the cat. And so he actually cut off the piece of his robe that the cat was sitting on to let the cat keep napping, and then he walked away. And so that meant everybody loved cats. And so we would take her everywhere with us, restaurants, museums, what have you.
mm,
We did this thing called couchsurfing.org, which is a website where you can find local homestays. And we wanted
mm.
to do that to get to know the local people. And so we brought Bao Zi with her, and we actually advertised, we're two ladies traveling with a cat. And she was invited to so many homes, I think primarily because of the cat. So she got to meet people that way. And then it's a fun thing to travel with a cat too, because it's such a icebreaker when you're with, you're
Mm,
traveling with a cat. People see her, they want to talk to you. And so it allows people to engage with you in a foreign culture country where they might not otherwise. So we really loved traveling with
mm.
her in those areas where it gave us a way to connect with people.
It's funny because it sort of works both ways. Like whenever I look for Airbnbs, for example, and some a host has a cat, I'm like, that's my home. Like I want to go there
Yeah,
because of the cat. And because
yeah.
it tells something about the person, right, who's hosting as well. So it's
Yeah, cat people or I should say even animal people are just always generally such good people. I mean, they've got some kind of
yeah,
warmth and they love caring for others.
yeah, exactly. And talking of Italy, that's like my dream country sort of to move to just because of their love for cats, because I feel like
Hmm.
that's like the most cat loving country, and I'm like I just want to be around the cat loving people, because
Yeah,
even the strays
they're
there,
such
right,
kind
they're
people.
so well cared for. Like they have laws
Hmm.
against cats being like, you can't do anything bad to cats basically. You can't
Yeah,
treat them badly, even the stray cats, because there's basically no stray cats. It's just always
no.
community looking after them. It's so beautiful. Really
Same
wish.
as in Turkey. Like,
Yeah.
we've been there with her and it's just amazing. Everybody's always taking care of all the street cats and caring for them. It's really nice.
Oh, it's beautiful. I wish that was the whole world like that, and towards all animals. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned that you decided to get a cat because you were having some difficult time.
Hmm.
How would you say that having a cat influenced your mental health?
Ooh, very positively. It's hard to be sad when you have a cat to cuddle, I think. Um, yeah, I think for the both of us, it's really good. I came out of that depressive time and I'm just now at a normal amount of health, but I think, everybody has hard days, but seeing a cat that you want to cuddle with obviously just automatically improves your mood. It's hard to be sad when there's something that cute around. But the other way that she has improved, I would say, like, I don't know if my personality is the right word, but something like that, or helped me grow, is seeing Bauza go out of her comfort zone every day and try new things has
Mm,
encouraged and inspired both me and my wife to do the same thing. So,
mm,
as an example, my wife is very athletic and loves rock climbing and mountain climbing and all things. And I've always been outdoorsy, but not very adventurous in that way.
mm,
But seeing Bowdza get over her fears inspired me to do the same because I saw that like Bowdza at the beginning of trying something new will be like pretty apprehensive or nervous. And then as time goes on, she gets more and more confident and you can just see her whole body language change. Like she's so proud of herself. I like when she's done something that she was nervous to do, but then does it, like maybe climb a certain kind of a mountain or go on a boat ride or go swimming or whatever. You can literally just tell in the hours after she's like preening and she's got her chest out and she's happy and her tail is high. She's like, oh yeah, I did that. And it really inspired me to be like, okay, my whole world could be so much bigger if I push myself outside of my comfort zone. And
mm,
so I started doing a lot more physical adventure stuff. Like when we were in Tajikistan this winter, we did this insane mountaineering trips, with a local guide in areas where there's no hiking trails. You're through waist deep snow, snowshoeing over mountain passes, and there's like avalanches going by you. And it's
wow.
like the most insane, scary thing. But the cat was chill. I was like, all right, like she's chill. I guess I'll be chill. Like she could care less. There was one time I was hiking this last year in Colorado and I was on a hillside and long story short, we dropped some of our stuff on accident. So I had to go after it. And it was a very steep hill and it was very loose rock. And it was probably the most physically scared I've ever been. I was really worried about coming down in kind of like a rock slide.
Mm,
And I had the cat on me. And I went through this whole thing. It maybe only took 5 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime of like how scared I was going down this thing, getting our stuff, climbing back up. And I'm like sweating out of my palms and I'm shaking. And I get to the top and I'm like, man, the cat must be so scared. And as I'm like just almost at the top, all of a sudden I hear like, and I realize she's snoring. She just is completely passed out in the backpack. Like, I'm dying. And she's just so chill. And I was like, all right. She's chill. She doesn't sense any imminent danger. I guess I'm just fine. And I'll get over my fear. So that's been cool.
I think it's even the first story that you said, like how she had to get used to the car. Like you
Hmm.
said that she was exposed to the car and she gradually got used to it. I think that's also like, a perfect sort of analogy for us, like getting exposed to our fears or the things that
Yeah.
scare us. And the longer we are
Yeah.
exposed to it, the less we're scared, and then we just become more comfortable.
I
It's,
think that's exactly it. Like figuring out like what is good fear versus bad fear, right? Good fear keeps you safe.
yeah.
But then but then there's the fear that you want to overcome because it's just stopping you from doing the things you want to do in life and being able to identify that and having a small 8 pound, 2.5 kilo cat teach us that. It's just the funniest thing that she taught us that life lesson.
What is actually Bowser's favorite season?
She loves snow. Just go on lots of snow walks and the snow will be like a foot deep, like up to like half our calf. And we have all these videos of her just like bouncing up and down in the snow. She just is so happy. She's made for it. She's just it's so so special to see her so happy. Of all the environments where we bring her, desert, water, snow, city, nature, like just snow is her thing. She loves it.
We're still very much at the beginning of the year. So, if there was one thing you would like for people to take into this new year, 2025, what would that be?
My wish for people to take into the new year would be to look at their fears and look at what's holding them back, and then think about maybe pushing themselves a little bit outside of those and using the example of a tiny cat who pushed outside her comfort zones and now explores the whole world as maybe an example of how when we ourselves push past our comfort zones, our whole world can open up as well.
Hi, all. We're still in the early days of the human year, and some of you may still be deep in your winter sleep. I mean, nothing wrong with that. In fact, we totally approve. But just in case you wanted to think ahead and make some plans for 2025 already, I thought this lesson I'm about to share with you might be a good starting point. Some time ago, we had a visitor at our home, a feline one. His name was Dennis, as I later learned, though they called him all kinds of funny names at first. I was not thrilled about his presence in my home, I can tell you that. First of all, no one asked me for permission. Second, no one asked if I liked him. And third, no one asked if I'd be willing to share all that is mine with yet another cat. Like, sharing it with my brothers wasn't enough. But to be completely honest with you, my main reason to dislike him was simply that I feared him and felt threatened. So I spent most of my days in hiding. Those were pretty hungry days, I can tell you that. Anyway, one day my human ambushed me in my hiding spot in her wardrobe and put a funny smelling collar on my neck. And then, wowza! That collar must have been magical, I tell you that. Before I knew it, I felt invincible and every inch a courageous cat. I stopped hiding and reclaimed my spot in the hallway. And when faced with the intruder, just hissed at him self confidently. I can't tell you how proud I was of myself. Not to mention, my humans seemed pretty pleased too, apart from the hissing part for some reason, not sure why. I felt the confidence I so often lacked and dreamed about when faced with the unknown and new. Gone was the fearful tabby in me. I felt like a superhero, and it felt so good. I was determined this new cat I became was here to stay. But one day, my collar was removed, and I started to feel the old fearful feelings creep in. I felt the need to hide again, and quite frankly, was in dire need of my color. Why did they take my superpowers away? It must have been the color. It turned me into a super cat, and now it was gone, and I was just the same old me. After some time, though, I realized the truth that it was not the color, it was me. Yes, sure, the color helped me feel more confident for a while, but it only helped me bring to the surface who I already was. The confidence was part of me already. It just needed waking up. So, if wearing a collar helps you awaken certain parts of yourself that you find difficult to ignite, then go for it. But always remember, it's not the collar that holds the magic, it's you. We don't need any special item or person to become the best version of ourselves. All we need is to trust ourselves more and embrace the seeds of greatness that are already within us. We are all capable of tapping into our superhero powers and achieving our dreams. So, as you move forward into 2025, remember to trust yourself and your abilities every single day. This entry is part of the Cat Coach Diaries, which you can find at catcoachdiaries.substack.com. And it's called You Already Are All You Want to Be, written by your cat coach, Apricot. Celebrated on the 2nd of February, Hromnice, literally translated from Czech as thundering, is traditionally a time to clean up the last remaining Christmas decorations and making space for new things and new season to come. Celebrated on the 2nd of February, Hromnice, literally translated from Czech as thundering, is traditionally a time to clean up any remaining Christmas decorations or any remaining decorations connected with the winter solstice, and making space for new things and new season to come. Even though we're still only halfway through winter, the days grow longer and the sun is getting stronger too. Hromnice is one of the 8 traditional celebrations connected with the natural cycles of the year before the rise of Christianity. It is celebrated approximately 40 days after winter solstice and 40 days before spring equinox. It is at this time when first seeds in the ground awake. The Slavic festival was dedicated to the god Helene. For the old Germanic, this was Thor, the god who rules the thunder, the lightning, and rain. The same festival was also celebrated by the Celts and known as Imbolc, and it was dedicated to the goddess Bridget, who protects all the newly growing seeds in the soil. The Slavs were awaiting the first thunder, a promise of spring. The thunder was a result of a fight between the winter and spring gods, with the spring god winning and thus supporting the still fragile sun. Celts would light up bonfires in front of their homes to protect them from thunder and lightning as well as hail. After the Christianization of these pagan traditions, it has become known under the name of Candlemass, and people would come to the church for consecration of candles, which would then protect their homes against thunder and lightning and storms. So, if you like, after sunset on February 2nd, light up 3 candles and put them to your window. They are the candles of thunder, lightning, and storm, and each of them will protect you from the corresponding danger. By lighting up these candles, or even a single candle, which in Czech could be called hromnička, you are also saying goodbye to the old, burning the winter away. There will be many more opportunities in the upcoming weeks and months for new beginnings and welcoming the new, but this is one of them. And because I always look for any traditional food connected with pagan or old folk traditions, why not make some pancakes on February 2nd? I mean, I'm always up for pancakes. This may not be a Czech tradition, but it is a tradition in France where pancakes symbolize the returning sun and are made on February 2nd. So I say, let's make pancakes. For some February purification, bergamot, which gives Earl Grey its unique flavor, is not only uplifting and calming, but is also often used in the Ayurvedic and some Italian traditions to purify. So why not create a little February ritual with your favorite cup of Earl Grey tea? Perhaps have it ready for the next episode of the Cat Coach Cafe, coming to you on the 14th of February. Yes, indeed, we are once again at the end of today's episode. We'll see each other in exactly 2 weeks' time. This time, we'll be spreading some kindness in the world, but also towards ourselves, with Dr. David Hamilton, and we'll also talk about how animals make us better. Meanwhile, don't forget to subscribe to Cat Coach Diaries on Substack to get notified when new episodes are up, but also to not miss any of the Cat Coach's diaries. If you would leave a rating, a comment, or follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else you listen to your podcast, we would appreciate it so very much, as it will help us reach a wider audience and thus spread more peaceful energy into the world. You can also find us on Instagram, either on my profile at MoneyForce or at Cat Coach Diaries, where you can find more of the secret life of your cat coaches. Until next time, stay cozy, stay warm, and cuddle those cats of yours.